I always thought it would be cool if you could go back and listen to the day-to-day of today's highest achievers as it happened, as opposed to 30 years later after they've made it. I believe there's a giant disconnect between ground zero and the top floor because we only see the top floor and the top floor only talks about the top. How valuable would that be? And so it goes without saying, but I believe I'll make it there. And this is a documented journey through each level. My name is Bryson Sessions, and you are listening to the Bed Podcast.
Pro final, okay?
Okay. What's up, guys? So I've been listening to older podcasts from different people to see what their first shows were like, namely Alex Hormozy, right? But he started his podcast already having so much experience underneath his belt. I'm starting with absolutely zero. Well, I wouldn't even say zero. I'm just starting with a shit ton less, right? And I go back to listen to his first ones with his experience, and I'm like, damn, dude, I'm really starting at such a point in my life that's just, like, I got so far to go. And that thought is discouraging, but long term, it's motivating because for me to have such a low starting point, if you want to call it that, to then document everything from there, I think that's where a lot of value will come from that, because there's a lot of benefit from seeing and hearing how I'm thinking and how I'm navigating through life based on my current goals, based on what I have access to, based on my knowledge and my skill sets, right? Because if we're talking sales, I've got a lot to learn. We're talking really, honestly, every department, I've got so much to learn, and I've got so little experience. So that's where I'm starting from. I mean, at the time of recording this, talking to strangers is uncomfortable for me. It's hard. It's harder. But there's a distinction there, because talking to random people, I don't have a problem doing that. But it's making a conversation come out of nowhere that's harder for me, that makes it uncomfortable. Because I can go ask anybody any question, whatever, but the minute I have to be like, hey, so how are you? What's up? How you doing? You doing good? Cool. What are you up to? That shit for me is difficult. So anyway, I also want to make these shows much shorter. I want to go for 10 minutes tops, because the last few have been pretty long, I think. If I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at the timestamps. I could be way wrong. I know yesterday's was 42 minutes. But if I could keep them below 10 minutes and just document the things that I'm doing pretty quickly, then I'd like to do that. And the only reason for that is because if these shows are going to be what I want them to be, which is quick documentation, then they need to be, and especially if they're shitty quality, they need to be quicker, and they need to be a little bit more organized. Because I even had discouraging thoughts with this show for the first time ever, which were pretty much, dude, I'm 269 episodes deep into this, and I'm almost embarrassed at the fact that I haven't really improved that much. And I can answer why I haven't improved that much, and then me answering that is just proof that I'm not taking advantage of the ability to learn itself, which is every time I record a show, I can listen to that same show and listen to how I talk, listen to the ums and ahs and likes and all the words that I would prefer not to use, and all the times that I stumble, all the times that I lose my train of thought, and I can learn from those, but I just don't. It's almost like I just don't really even give a fuck about this, so much so that I just record and upload, and that's as much thought as I put into it, But I'd like to learn more from how I speak and how I can get better, and the only way to do that is to actually listen to my shows and judge my shows and correct them from my own, with my own ears. So then I had the thought of, what if I listened to the show that I made a week or a month or 6 months ago, and then the show I made a year ago. So obviously I haven't been doing this for a year yet, but that thought process and stuff then versus how I've made it. So that would always kind of keep me in check. So I would be, for example, let's say a year ago, I'm like, dude, I can't wait to get 1,000 downloads or whatever. And then I listen to that now and I'm like, holy shit, dude, I wanted that and I achieved it. So there's proof that what I'm doing is working, and so that would kind of give me the proof and the evidence that I am achieving things and I am progressing, because it's so easy to just feel like I'm not moving, like I'm not making progress. And I don't want to feel that way, because I think back to a day when I was like, I want my own place so bad. I can't wait to be able to afford a meal prep service so I don't have to cook. I can't wait to be able to, have my own money to buy things that I want to buy. I can't wait to have my own car. I can't wait to compete in my first show. And I've done all of those things. But it's like, I'm thankful. I'm always thankful, but it's like I'm only aware of the fact that I accomplished these goals for the few minutes that it takes me to, I guess, accomplish them in the sense of, like, I got my own place. Okay, I got my own place. Cool, I got it. So on to the next thing. But it's like I want to do a better job at appreciating the things that I worked for and that I've earned. Because all those things I just mentioned, those are things that I desperately wanted so bad at one point. And the one that hits home, especially right now, is the meal prep service. I've always wanted that. But I'm like, dude, it just costs so much money. I don't know if I'll be able to do that until I actually start doing stuff and making actual money. And I still kind of don't feel that way, because I've got kind of discounts and coupons and shit that have just stacked up, and so it is more affordable, because there are other meal prep companies, because right now I'm using Flex Pro, and they're fine. I have yet to have one delivery where there's not something fucked up, but the food tastes great, and it's fine for the time being. It's very affordable. But there's companies out there that have such a high standard and that pay such close attention to detail, such as Nutrition Solutions, that I love, but they just charge a little bit more money than I can afford right now. So I think for me, I'd have to get that to feel like I accomplished that goal, because right now I do have a meal prep company, for example, and it simplifies life immensely. So in that regard, I feel like I've achieved that goal. But I would like to achieve the goal, I guess, on the same set of rules, standards, whatever you want to call them, that I initially set the goal from. So anyway, I think that would help if I listened to my own shows. And I've said that so many times, it's so funny that I just don't. But yeah, and I think that's kind of also why I want to keep them shorter, so that it's it's easier to listen to them when I'm, so I can keep them 10 minutes or so, and just kind of document the day, or what I'm doing, what I'm working on. I think that would be a lot better than these long ones, because I have the other show that I'm working on, and that one's going to be, actually, that one's probably going to be the podcast that I use strictly, well, not strictly, but I use it to get leads and to make content off of, and to kind of put myself out there as far as getting people to see what I'm about, and then see the program that I offer, and want to sign up, right? So that's the whole idea with that, because that will give me a shit ton of content and a lot of clips that I could use to post on social media. So that's that, and that will be fitness, discipline, mental toughness, right? So 75 hard plus fitness, and then this one would just be daily documentation. So that's the goal with that. So that podcast would talk a lot about, minus all the business shit, I would talk about what this podcast talks about, but in a much more polished standpoint, where I'm trying to actually teach somebody something. This one's more like just me talking. So anyway, just some ideas, just wanted to share them, and I did say I wanted to keep them under 10 minutes, so I think today we'll do our best to try to keep at that. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's the show, guys. I appreciate you listening, as always, and I'll talk to you next time I talk to you next. Are you just going to follow me in? Nice. That was the whole show.
Hey, thanks for listening, and a quick reminder here. So this podcast doesn't prioritize professionalism or quality at all. It's just meant to be a shoot from the hip type podcast with the intent just to get a quick message out. So some episodes might be inaudible in 30 seconds and others might be 45 minutes and super crisp sounding. So all these are being made so that by episode 7,305, which is 20 years, we can come back and see the entire playbook of how I made it to wherever I'm going. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.